Captain's Log, Stardate 2818. Mission, Well Good Movies. Defined, some well good movies. We are deep into space looking for the famed and ancient movie vault, as prophesied by the ancient film god. Mr. Troy, tell us the mission report.
Everything's pretty good, Captain. We're going ahead 1/4 impulse speed. I kind of noticed there's a taco planet coming up in 15 parsecs.
We don't have time for that.
You wanted to call someone up from get a shuttle to
check with engineering.
Get some tacos. I'll pad through Commander Hill.
Sweet mother of Sarek, it's all gone to pot. The engines are on fire. We've got Swiss sludge coming out of our Jeffries tubes. Oh my giddy aunt, the whole ship's going to explode in approximately...
Is there any chance of saving the ship?
I'm not a medical worker, Hayden. There's zero chance of saving this hump of rubbish.
What if I just put him on silent for a while?
Yeah, that might work. Okay, we need to know what's best to do from here. Maybe best to hail Admiral...
My chair is getting warm.
Well, we definitely need to get some help on this then. Patch me through to Commander MacDonald.
Oh man, I hate that guy.
What the hell is going on here?
Craig, we need your help. We need to know what...
No. Like, are you guys doing Star Trek?
Craig, go along with the joke.
What?
Go along with the joke.
Taco planet.
Are you in on this?
I thought we were doing Star Wars.
Why would we do Star Wars?
Are you joking? David, Rise of Skywalker's coming out this month. This episode is coming out as it's coming out.
Oh.
Why are we doing Star Trek?
Oh, yeah.
I just kind of got really wrapped up in the idea of there being a taco planet.
Yeah.
Are you joking? I'm dressed as a Mandalorian right now. It's like, what?
We didn't think this through, guys. We're just going to have to run with it.
Wait, I've got a really good idea. That works, right? He can't speak now.
That's... Yeah, I'm going to go and change, guys. Like, come on.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Are you not entertained?
I am your father.
Wait!
Here's Johnny. I'll be back.
It's not the car, it's a silly movie boy.
Well, good movies.
Yes, welcome to Well Good Movies, the podcast that gives you the topics worth discussing and the movies worth watching. I'm your host, David Osger, and today, pretty much out worldwide, is The Rise of Skywalker, the brand new Star Wars film. So what better chance than to talk about Star Trek? We're not joking. Our website is Fresh Take, and, we like to take the alternate or fresh take here at Well Good Movies. So we thought we'd use this chance to talk about the director of Rise of Skywalker, JJ Abrams, and pretty much how he got the Star Wars gig, which was through 2 Star Trek films. So he directed Force Awakens and has directed Rise of Skywalker, but we're going to be sort of asking ourselves, was he the right man for the job based on how he did Star Trek? So to go through all that, got some great guests with me today. First of all is comedian, film nerd. He's been on the show before, but first time being on Well Good Movies officially since it's been renamed. It is Matt Troy. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Back. I'm very good, thank you very much, yeah.
So are you Star Wars, Star Trek? Where do you usually come down on?
I was raised Star Wars, but I definitely spent a lot of time in the other universe too.
I thought you were actually going to say I was raised on Tatooine.
I have an old man looking after me from a distance.
And obviously you've hosted a Star Wars quiz, which we won.
Yeah, I mean, I think
for clarification, David won it. I was just there.
I think you only ever get me on this podcast so David can remind people that he won my Star Wars quiz.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. What's your sort of brief feelings of the new Star Wars trilogy now that we have got the new ones coming out?
I am looking forward to the new one with cautious optimism.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the other 2. I have my issues with them, like any long-term fan would, I guess, whenever there's something new created. But yeah, I'm positive.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. So, and with new Trek, obviously, if you can say that now, because I think it's still been about 2-3 years since the last film, but, with yay, nay, where do you come down briefly on that?
Less so.
Yeah.
Though it was really weird. I think that Star Trek has been like a sort of a long road for a long time. Then all of a sudden somebody came in and was just build a cul-de-sac. And that's what they've done. They built like this weird new Trek cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And then after a while, like, nobody likes it. And then they've gone back onto the main timeline and carried on there. So, it's got its ups and downs like anything, yeah.
Yeah, be an interesting conversation, definitely. So joining us as well is fellow film nerd, historian, actor, Di Hill, who is also meant to be a Star Trek fanatic. Where do you come down on the sort of Star Trek, Star Wars? Is it always been Trek or?
Well, I was the opposite of Matt. I grew up watching Star Trek on the telly, and it took me years and years and years to discover that Star Wars was even a thing.
Oh, right, okay.
But I mean, I like them both. They're very different things, really.
Yeah.
But I'm a big lover of Star Trek.
Oh, that's good. So, yeah, we've got some good balance here of knowledge. Again, briefly, new Trek, yay or nay?
No, I think they're like they're giving it a good go, but
Right.
they're just sort of not getting there and ending up making really rubbish things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be an interesting conversation today. So we'll mainly focus on like the two JJ Abrams films, but obviously we can then spin off if we do have time to talk about Beyond, which then sort of spawned from the first two films, and maybe his take on the Star Wars franchise thus far. As usual as well, I have my co-host Craig McDonald.
Hello.
You right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. First of all, I just wanted to, like I said, Di has said that he is a Star Trek sort of like expert. So I thought it'd be fun to do a quick little game. Don't worry, this is not actually like questions. This is just like...
Just think of this like a census.
Yeah, it's a quick fire questions on your opinion, just so we can get a little round off of your feelings towards a few Star Trek things. So just quick fire answers. First thing that comes to your mind, and it's just opinion based. There might be some weird ones chucked in there as well for good measure. So are you ready?
No.
Well, we're going anyway. 3, 2, 1. Trekkies or Trekker?
Trekkies.
Best captain?
Picard.
Best series?
Next Generation.
Red, gold or blue?
Gold.
What Picard meme are you?
Oh, I don't know any of that. Isn't that the one where he does his head slap? That's a good one.
Yeah.
I think you're more
That's
of
the
a
most
sexy
one.
Picard in a chair, actually.
Oh no, but there's a video of him playing his flute. That's the best one. Yeah.
So between saucy Picard and instrumental Picard.
Yeah.
You're falling off a building. Do you cling on or cling on?
I cling on.
Either one. Shatner or Nimoy?
Nimoy.
Pine or Quinto?
Oh. This made me slightly sad.
Is this a furniture question?
Just wait.
I mean, pine.
Birch or Pimpto?
Birch.
Speak some Klingon.
I don't know any Klingon. Just blood wine. Clack, clack, clack.
Orion or Andorian?
What Andorian?
Weapon of choice. Weapon of choice?
In general,
Yeah.
Batleth.
And Space Chiquitos or Space Nandos?
What's Chiquitos?
Mexican, I think, kind of.
Knew there would be a planet of tacos.
Yeah, that's ironic, actually, after that conversation.
Yeah, Chiquitos then.
Yeah. Cool. That wraps up our quick fire round for Di. Yeah, just to let you know, birch or pimpto is just a type of tree and a type of bean. I was just messing with you there, just because pine and quinto just sounded so not like human people. It just sounded funny to then.
That's how they act as well.
And the sad thing is as well, like, you were slightly prepared for that because of the brief dialogue between Matt and David of, is this a furniture question? Just wait.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I was interested as well in the Trekkies or Trekker, because I was watching one of the documentaries on the behind the scenes of the films, and they was like, oh, I found out there's not actually Trekkie, apparently it's Trekker, and I was just like,
Such
really? What?
That sounds like a backpacker.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Can I do that quiz?
Yeah, go, okay, yeah.
Sweet. Go on,
Yes.
go on.
Okay, ready.
Yeah.
Trekkies or Trekker?
Trekkie,
Best captain?
Cisco,
Best series?
Deep Space Nine,
Red, gold or blue?
Blue.
What Picard meme are you?
Come on. Yeah.
You're falling off a building, do you cling on or cling on?
If I am falling off a building, I'm doing it for the glory of the Empire.
Shatner or Nimoy?
Nimoy,
Pine or Quinto?
Quinto,
Birch or Pinto?
Birch.
Speak some Klingon.
Stovall Core.
Orion or Andorian?
Andorian.
Weapon of choice.
Oh, Disruptor.
And Space Chiquitos or Space Nandos or Taco Planet?
I don't want to split the group, so let's go with Space Chiquitos. Yeah?
Okay, yeah.
That's what we're all going after.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. The ship is not going to, like, divert on...
We're not sending
We
a
can
shuttle
separate
crab.
the saucer section so that some of us can go to one, the others can go in the other.
I was going to say I don't like either of them, so at this point it doesn't really matter.
Or you can have
well, there's
fries.
What's that advert for? Is it Just Eat or Deliveroo where they're like, I've got your Burger King, I've got your Chinese, I'm like, this is
Yeah.
madness. This.
Yeah.
Oh, that advert's now been banned.
Oh, it's good, because that is just pure chaos. Anybody who lives like that should be banned themselves.
Cancel them.
Yes. Cancel culture.
Why are you talking to me, man?
Your father was captain of a starship for 12 minutes.
He saved 800 lives, including yours.
I dare you to do better. Enlist in Starfleet.
You will experience fear. Fear in the face of certain death.
Pull your chute!
We received a distress call.
I've been waiting for this day my whole life. This day of reckoning.
I've got no captain and no first officer to replace him.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so interesting to see that trailer now because it's very much of its time, 2009. Like, if that was a modern trailer, I think you could actually see it from the Star Trek Beyond. It was just like, let's play some 80s like music, or like, let's play some popular song from the 90s, or whatever.
Basically, a trailer right before Guardians of the Galaxy basically just redefined how trailers are made.
Yeah, whereas this one is very much that like epic music and like he was a great man, and then just showing slow-mo shots of
the Hans Zimmer era, as I know it.
So like I said, this is the 2009 Star Trek. So JJ Abrams directed. The main sort of team you had behind it was Alex Kurtzman, Robert Orkey as writers / producers, and then you had Damon Lindelof and Brian Burke, which has obviously been linked to Abrams before. So, Di, what was your feelings on the 2009 Star Trek? When you first saw it, or now? Or...
Yeah, well, I rewatched it again this week. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie, and it's not really like the thing everyone says. It's not really a Star Trek movie. And you can, it's sort of. It's got a very specific goal, which is just to reintroduce all these characters. And it does it. It's really simple. Things explode. It's underwhelming at the end. Like, the conclusion is really bland. They just sort of like vaguely sort the baddie out, and then they let him fall in a hole, like a black hole thing.
Yeah.
And then they just run away from it, and you're like, oh, well, And so the whole thing, it's very basic, but sort of. It moves at such a speed that you don't mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't try to do anything big, and so as long as you're not like stopping and looking at what's happening, you don't realise that nothing is really happening.
Yeah, exactly. Matt, what was your feelings on?
Yeah, a lot of the same feelings, really. But I think it is a fun movie. It is definitely something of its time, I think. I think at the time, like, the studios thought that maybe they could get away with a bit more interfering with canon than they can now.
Yeah, true.
As a standalone sort of action movie, it's great fun to watch. There's a great deal of implausible things for your average Star Trek fan, but your average movie fan is certainly going to get a lot of fun out of that film. And I think, it did bring in a new generation then of Star Trek fans, which is great. The action set pieces are fine. It's nice to have Leonard Nimoy reprising his role as Spock.
Yeah.
Just getting, just before, obviously, Leonard Nimoy's sad demise. It's not bad. It's definitely It's one of my favorite of the three of the newer Trek
I think it's
movies so far.
It's the most successful of the three because it achieves what it's intending to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think the redesign of a lot of the stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
The redesign of the Enterprise is brilliant because it's kind of got its own character to it now. Like it looks more nimble and like more like a frigate, sort of like, you know.
Yeah.
So it feels. You can see how it is the original Enterprise, but it feels like its own character, which is great. And the uniforms and everything about the design and the music is amazing as well.
Yeah. Michael Giacchino sort of like bringing it as usual kind of thing. So, I think that is definitely a strength for me, and it kind of does carry over a bit into Darkness, which, like say, we'll go into later. But I think for me, sometimes I am so visual and stuff like that, you know, like because the set design and the costumes are so well done, you know, I can just look at it and be like, oh, wow, you know, they've really brought this world to life. But I think what was interesting for me is that I literally had not seen a single Star Trek episode or film before I saw this. So my dad was like, oh, I want to see that new Star Trek film. And I was like, oh, really? And then one of our friends who's like complete, not a nerd, you know, like, you know, we'll watch things like, you know, The Holiday and like things like that. It was like, oh, I saw that new Star Trek. It was really good. And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is worth watching. And yeah, I did go to see it, and I was amazed because it was like experiencing maybe Star Wars or something for the first time, because it was this introduction and it was very sort of like, you know, action focused with a lot of technical stuff.
I do feel that it was a calling card for JJ Abrams making Star Wars.
Yeah.
For sure. Like that's exactly what he was going for. He's a Star Wars fan, and he's very, very visible in the film.
Yeah.
It has a very Star Warsy feel. And I mean, I have mixed feelings about that. I feel that, you know, they did a successful film, and they did kind of jumpstart the franchise a bit again.
Yeah.
Although I don't think that ultimately what he did was a total success, but it's also got him that role. It got him into Star Wars.
For him, it was a success.
Yeah, I mean,
for the rest of us,
Yeah.
not so sure.
It's interesting though, because he says that himself when you watch the behind the scenes. He was like, I was never a Star Trek guy. You know, my thing was the Twilight Zone, and that was his favorite TV program watching up. And he said, you know, I grew up watching the series, but I wasn't a fanatic. But he said, you know, at the same time, you got like Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orci. You know, they were sort of like people who sort of knew the franchise. So they were the ones that were correcting people on set about like terminology and stuff.
There's definitely evidence that it's been well researched.
Yeah.
But and of course, like the controversial elements of it tend to be what they, if you'll excuse the Star Trek pun for hardcore fans, what they leave behind. And I think that that's a thing, and you know, nobody wants to kind of encourage or give sort of any fire to the internet trolls about this whole kind of thing, but there was like a shift in the whole thing that was unusual as a long-term fan, in that Star Trek is slightly more philosophical in a fun way.
Yeah.
You know, not in a more Twilight Zone way, actually, which is interesting. I didn't know about that Twilight Zone fact.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Star Trek which very closely resembles the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Like way more so than Star Trek ever resembled Star Wars. Like there are a lot of very sort of complex puzzle episodes, you know. So that's quite an interesting point, actually.
Yeah, I don't know whether he actually had any involvement in that Twilight Zone film they had a few years ago, because that was different directors did each part of it, wasn't it? So I'm not sure if JJ Abrams had anything to do with that, maybe. But
I'm not sure that he did.
Yeah, I think it was more Spielberg was involved in it. But yeah, and you know, but he did say, Star Wars was always my thing. But to me, that's where I did find it questionable. On the flip side, when to me I was like, well, that's a clever move. Is that, you know, they went to him or to, you know, whoever with the brief that we want to make Star Trek cool, and we want to bring it into the 21st century. So to me, then sort of taking a slight Star Wars angle to it does kind of make sense because of how much more successful it is. But then that didn't then scream to me, oh, he should definitely do Star Wars, because even though I enjoyed Star Trek for being like Star Wars to me as a Star Wars fan, I remember when they first announced the new Star Wars trilogy, they mentioned J.J. Abrams, and he originally declined it and said, no, because that's too close to my heart. He said something like Star Trek I could take, because I was like, well, I've got ideas of how this could develop, whereas something like Star Trek is too close to my childhood for me to properly represent it without being biased. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point. I was like, get some new blood in there. But then they went and employed him, and I was just like, oh, I don't know if I like this or not. And the film was actually exactly what you expected. You were like, yeah, it is what you would expect from Abrams in terms of The Force Awakens now. Very much like Star Trek, that it gives you what you want. And lots of fanfare and, you know, great visual effects. But it's again is whether it's just too on the nose and whether it's some more fresh eyes would have been more.
What I
more
find weird about that comparison, because bringing it slightly back to Star Trek, you know, in terms of what we've been to be talking about.
Well, we were saying why he was right for the job.
This is a comparison. What I find weird in that situation is with Star Trek, the decision was basically made, and I think it's a relatively clever decision to not alienate as many hardcore Star Trek fans as possible, to make it clear that this is essentially an alternate timeline movie, because obviously the shenanigans that go on.
Insert shenanigans.
Which basically means that like any and all like subsequent changes that happen, you can basically put down to is like it's not your sacred timeline. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Smart.
surprising that The Force Awakens basically comes out as much of a carbon copy of New Hope as it does.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, right. Well, if this is so close to your heart, presumably I thought you'd had ideas about what you wanted to do, and you've just gone, this film was good, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think the difference, though, is that with Star Trek, obviously, they had a lot more free reign. And even though they did have, you do see a lot in the behind the scenes where they do talk about, well, even though we've got this new timeline, when they're talking about Into Darkness, they were like, it would be very easy for them to do a villain that's completely new because they got a new timeline. But then they still go back to Khan because they were like, well, you know, how can we not?
Yeah.
And it's that appeal to then say, well, we can, so it is, you know, so there is that law and it is easy to do. I think with Star Wars there was that expectation of, well, you have to have Leia and Han and Luke back, and then so that limits them, and then they're like, oh well, can we also do that? Oh no, well, it has to be post Empire, it has to be with C-3PO, it has to be.
I just don't think the actual restriction, they're really that restricting. I think there are elements and you can do a lot of interesting things with it.
Yeah, there's nothing to say. There was nothing to say that we had to have those characters be the main characters. We all appreciate that it's such a long time after Return of the Jedi, and we knew that whatever roles they played were going to be diminished in terms of action.
Yeah. Star Trek, I think you can see where there is that more collaboration of people who are working on the script and JJ Abrams, where again, Star Wars to me has always seemed to have been, oh, well, that was, you know, that person wrote the script and then JJ Abrams has sort of adapted it and directed it kind of thing, whereas Star Trek, the 2009 one, seemed to be a bit more of a collaborative process in terms of writing it. Kind of like how they do a Marvel film where they're sort of like, oh, this would be cool if this happened. Whereas, again, Force Awakens seems to be more somebody has done the script and then JJ just takes it and sort of meddles with it a bit maybe, but... Which not to say that he wrote the 2009 Star Trek, but again, I think that they did have that bit more freedom to do.
It's a cohesive film, the 2009 Star Trek. You know, it starts off with, can Captain Kirk become a captain, and ends with, oh, he is captain.
Yeah,
and that's the problem with all these other movies. Is that they fail in that kind of core, actually keeping a cohesive story together. And similarly with Force Awakens, is that it doesn't really have a cohesive story.
Well, I think the biggest strength, though, I think, again, is you see the JJ is a very practical guy as well. So, you know, I was surprised about how much practical effects were in the 2009 and 2013 films, which, again, does then make sense why he did that in Star Wars. So the fact that, like, a lot of the sets and the ships, you know, and like you said, with the Enterprise looks amazing because it is a physical set and, like, they have all those corridors. And one thing I always loved about it is the fact that they used real factories and stuff for the engineering rooms and stuff like
that's confusing. It's weird because they show, like, they fly the shuttles into the back end of the Enterprise, so you kind of get a sense of scale of how big it is, and then there's suddenly, like, factory somewhere else.
You have a weird sort of dichotomy between Apple Store and brewery.
It was a
Apple
Budweiser
Store at the front and brewery at the back.
It was a Budweiser factory, so but like, it's weird. But I just liked it. I just thought it was, again, it gives you a sense of realism. It just made you feel like it was an actual working ship rather than having the whole, like, sort of like, oh, here's some touchscreens that I'm just pressing away at kind of thing. So, you know, I enjoyed that, and I think it comes across quite well as in the opening, which, again, a lot of people have said is the best part of the film, is you've got that sort of Kelvin, I think, isn't it? USS Kelvin. They sort of purposely go, well, this is 20, 30 years before, when he's born. So they purposely then made it an old style ship compared to what you'd see with the Enterprise later. And it was really nice that they had really striking differences in the design. That was a very dark, old looking ship, and then the Enterprise is very brand new, sort of shiny
Apple
sort of
store.
thing. Yeah.
Can we also agree that the villain Nero is weird and annoying?
Yeah.
There's like weird American accent. It's like, "Why are you going over here? I'm a Romulan." And like, what? I don't understand anything really about him. We never really see him enough to get annoyed about him.
No.
But he's weird when he's there.
Yeah.
And then he just sort of drifts off at the end.
Yeah.
There was like a tie-in comic book that somebody got me for my birthday just before this movie came out. And I feel that it made the movie better for me because it kind of explained a bit of Nero's backstory. And I think that is one of my always complaints about JJ Abrams is his villains are not that great.
No.
Like his teams are good.
Yeah.
His gang is good. He makes a good gang. But yeah, his villains are also a little bit sort of lackluster.
Yeah, I'd agree. And Nero does have that kind of Captain Phasma comparison of build him up and then it doesn't actually amount to much kind of thing.
Am I here?
Yeah, and he has no real. I mean, Spock doesn't like him because he's destroyed Spock's home world.
Yeah.
But for everyone else, there's not that much sense of him really challenging them on a Khan is so good because he sort of challenges Kirk's actual psyche sort of thing in The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Great villains challenge the heart of a character.
Yeah.
And Nero and none of the villains really in most and even in most of your superhero movies.
He's also just incredibly forgettable. I mean, I granted I haven't seen the film in a while, but there are lots of elements of the film that I remember.
Yeah.
Just about him very, very little, apart from just the opening.
Because he doesn't do anything.
You're absolutely right, and I've not even thought about him today until you just mentioned him. He had not come into my head once. Yeah. And in my head, lots of colours and explosions with a villain in that film.
Yeah.
See, my thing is, I thought he was white from memory.
And Eric Bana hasn't really had much work since either. So so it goes to show.
But he's just got weird makeup on and a weird voice.
Yeah.
So when he is there, he's on set. He's just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like a weird guy in a pub with you and you don't really want to talk with them.
They did amazing work on the makeup and they had an Oscar for the Spock ears and stuff, but his was the one that I found quite jarring because you could see that Eric Bana isn't bald and they've put some sort of cap on him kind of thing, especially in certain lights. But I thought it worked for the story because again you will get in those sort of origin stories where they're we can't focus too much on the villain because we need to tell the story of the crew. So I felt it worked as a kind of introductory villain to again give us what we want, which is the team. And I think again, like you said, he's good at having good teams of characters, and that's why I really again think carries throughout the entire 3 films that they've had now in the new Star Trek, but definitely in the first one. That's what I love most about it. And when we first saw it, that's what my dad pinpointed, is the fact that he grew up watching the original series and he was fair play to all those actors. They he felt that they really nailed the original characters and that they really embodied those
they're probably the best thing about it, that Chris Pine Captain Kirk is probably going to be the most difficult one to play because he is more of a human than everybody else. Bones has got very much a thing about him. Captain Kirk has to be you in the story, so just to kind of get that. And obviously, I'm not a massive Shatner fan. I'm going to be honest with you. I find him to be weird. But he did a great role, especially in the original series. It was a fantastic role. And then, obviously, Carl Urban was absolutely outstanding in that film. He hit the nail on the head. And Zachary Quinto as well was absolutely brilliant. Zoe Saldana. They were all spot on.
And that's the great thing.
Spock on.
Except for one.
Oh.
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine. As long as it wasn't Anton Yelchin or something.
No.
He's great.
He was amazing. I thought, Simon Pegg was such an odd choice.
Yeah.
It was like somehow he had some power and he exercised the power to get that role. And they were there's one role left and it's Scotty. And he's like, oh, my wife is Scottish. Great, I guess. But he's not like the character at all. He brings his... it's not... I think it's just Simon Pegg is very limited in what he can play.
Yeah.
He has got a type, and he played that type, and it was basically Tim Bisley from space pretending to be Scotty, how he remembers it.
Yeah.
And it's not awful. It fits into the film. It's just everybody else has made such a good effort to create a beloved character, and I don't think that Simon Pegg quite hit his marks.
And to me, it also seemed weird that everyone else was quite young and he then was quite old in comparison. So I was like, why would you have the origin of this new young team?
It is weird,
He doesn't
isn't it?
seem like he would be part of the team. He seems like their dad or something.
Well, exactly. And I think if you look at the original series, like, DeForest Kelley was the oldest crew member, so that's Carl Urban's character, Dr. McCoy. And then Scotty is, like maybe a bit older than Captain Kirk. He's an older character, but he's...
Yeah. I suppose he has always been older, but he did stand out to me. But I think Anton Yelchin I really loved in the first film, having that moment of like, like I can do that when he's like rushing around and he's trying to like sort of like fix things. I can't remember his name now, but from Harold and Kumar, the guy who plays
Sulu.
Yeah.
So he's great. I think they had a bit of like concern with him because he's actually like of Korean descent. So they're like, is this going to be? But
it's interesting though, because I think that Sulu was never meant to be a Japanese character or Japanese American character as such. That Sulu was given a very neutral name. Like he's named after the Sulu Sea. So it was meant to represent an Asian character, which obviously at the time was that's quite revolutionary in 60s TV.
I think that's what George Takei said when JJ I think rung him to sort of get his approval. He said, well, this character was meant to sort of represent Asian characters, not specifically. So he was fine with it, and that's all like put it in. But definitely I think Carl Urban is really great, and like I said, even I enjoy Chris Pine in most of his roles, and like I said, he also specifically says that he didn't want to go down the Shatner route of doing the Shatner type dialogue, which would be very corny.
I think that would have been a drastic mistake.
Yeah, it would be so weird.
And the dialogue isn't that kind of dialogue either. It's not the sort of slightly more longer-winded TV dialogue that Shatner was able to like go fully weird on.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to do it in that
and he sells a lot of the humour. So like where you get that like moment where like his hands of like he's like, what's this? And it's just like, good God, man. And so I think that he sells a lot of the humour in the films.
Darkness is coming. This could just be the beginning.
Beginning of what? All-out war. I request permission to go after him.
I cannot allow you to do this.
Jim, you're not actually going after this guy, are you?
Let's go get this son of a bitch.
You want to pull him, Kirk?
Sir, there's a ship heading right for us.
You can't even guarantee the safety of your own crew.
Realistically, Into Darkness just becomes less of a team-focused film. They basically focus so much around the dynamic between like Kirk and Spock, and then eventually Khan. A lot of the other characters just have very little to do in like actual interaction apart from just I'm going to run into this situation and do like the technical thing.
But that's going to be the nature of a lot of in the Star Trek movies, as there are, a lot of them, the crew don't do a lot. They just sort of follow along. Because when you're doing a movie, you need to focus on 2 or 3 characters. And so having the giant crew of people have all got to do something and be involved is really difficult to accommodate.
I really enjoyed that about the movies. Like, you're waiting for so-and-so's moment. Like, you're waiting for Scotty to hit his head against the bulkhead, or for, like, a rando background character to appear on a starbase at the beginning, like, waving them off. I loved all that stuff about it. Are we on to Into Darkness now? We are into darkness. Into darkness. I think that the main problem that we got from that is that there was no depth in this villain at all whatsoever, and there's 2 small Star Trek anecdotes coming out here. They're very small, I promise. Right. The first one is
it's fine. I was talking about Just Eat earlier, so like you can go on tangents all you want.
The Wrath of Khan strongly implies that there's something for Khan to have been wrathful about in the past. And there was a whole episode called Space Seed where Khan was introduced. He was a genetically engineered monster character from the 1990s who conquered most of Asia and was sent into he snuck off into space, didn't he? Which is the one thing Earth didn't want to happen with his followers. And that story was still there. And that was a great story from one of the TV episodes. And there was a lot of room for expansion there, but they didn't. They went for the second part. They went for the easy cheese. They didn't go for the what could have been an absolutely incredible film, and then set up a future Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Which they could have called the Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
Like Khan 2, the Khan takes Manhattan, whatever. It just seems like it was wasted. And the second anecdote that I wanted to relate was the original series of Star Trek had an episode where something or other makes them all randy, and they're all kind of like running around the ship, making out with each other, and all kinds of bad things are happening and having fights. And then they started The Next Generation, and they decided we'll bring that plot device back for The Next Generation, which is a great idea. A new set of crew. You're going to have them all, bonking each other around the ship. Except they did it as the second episode of the Next Generation. So you didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
You didn't, is Geordie LaForge a weird rando horny character, or is Captain Picard going to be talking about his penis a lot? We don't know. And this is exactly what's happened with Into Darkness. They've basically put something with a lot of weight into it, into a new franchise that's supposed to be a complete cut-off from what they did before.
Yeah.
And it loses its tail. It loses everything that came before it, because nobody knows. We're supposed to act, even as an Star Trek experienced audience, like this is new.
Yeah.
And obviously they try to hide it as well. And we were like, we're not fooling us. We know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they also, another thing, just one more thing. I promise this is my last part of this.
No, that's fine.
Khan Noonien Singh is meant to be, I guess, an Indian character, maybe, or someone from
Native
the
American,
Asian, from the Indian subcontinent.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
He was originally played by Ricardo Montalban in the TV show and subsequent movie, who was an Hispanic actor, which was a thing that happened all the time.
Yeah. At least he's not just a white American
just
guy.
Just a white man, a
yeah.
white British guy.
Yeah.
They had a wealth of great modern Asian actors they could have picked to play this character. They did not.
Yeah, and that's I love Benedict Cumberbatch in most stuff. He's really good. He plays a great villain. And
fantastic.
I can't say he plays a great Khan, because he doesn't play Khan. He plays a great villain. He has a great voice. He has a great intimidating. I thought he was really good in the film, but just not as Khan, because again, and I think actually when I watched behind the scenes, JJ Abrams' sort of justification of it was a bit limp, because he was like, well, we knew that we could potentially get in trouble again, similar with changing the race of the character, but he was like, once we saw his performance, we were like, no, this, once you see it, you have to go with him. I was like, well, no, just change the character if it's that good.
Yeah.
And his performance isn't even that good. He has these really long monologues that he just sort of eats all the furniture on, and it's completely different to how Khan is as a character. Khan is this charismatic, he kind of enjoys, is this lavish and extravagant villain, whereas Benedict Cumberbatch is just this sort of grumpy
He's
teenager.
evil Spock, basically.
Yeah.
He just
As
plays
much as... Sorry,
I'm done.
Okay. No, as much as I do love some of his dialogue choices, because David and I are great fans of just incredibly harsh dialogue, and I think we did respect the "I will walk over your cold, dead corpses" to get to. As much as I did enjoy that, for what I've seen from Cumberbatch in the past, it just feels like he does do great villain roles, but he also has a series of roles which is just insert generic sort of performance, and it felt like one of those.
Yeah,
it didn't,
British villain,
especially considering as well. This is my major gripe with the film, is that it's a bit confusing as to exactly what the major thing we should be hating in this situation is, which leads up to the mimicking of the Khan scream.
Yeah,
because obviously in the Wrath of Khan, it's very clear that obviously he's orchestrating all of this. So then the actual personal vendetta of the call makes sense. In this film, let's not forget that the Admiral has also done a lot of evil things.
I was going to say Admiral Robocop and his sexy daughter. That was such a stupid, pointless thing.
But it literally confuses the film as well, because in some situations, Khan is fighting directly against them, but also doing his own evil thing.
Yeah.
So when it gets to the end, and spoiler for anyone who does want to watch this,
no one will want to watch it once you finish talking.
And you get to the point that Kirk dies, and then Spock has his Khan scream. It's unwarranted because one, there's just not that much personal action from Khan against him in most situations. Because two, the Admiral also is the one responsible for this entire situation.
Yeah. The whole thing about Caroline Marcus and Admiral Marcus is one of my biggest bugbears. There's that and the fact that they can see Kronos being attacked or something from wherever they are. Which really gets on my nerves about JJ Abrams, is that wherever you are in space, you can see what's going on nearby.
People keep bumping into each other. In the first one, Captain Kirk's on some miscellaneous planet and bumps into Spock, and he's like, "Oh, small world."
Look, Vulcan's getting destroyed in the sky.
Yeah,
I think
the one thing
small universe.
one thing you should never be saying in the infinite universe is small world. Like that makes everything feel so much more like contained and rubbish and disappointing.
Unless the planet is literally a small world.
Yeah,
like a little, 50 miles around or something. Yeah, then you can say small world.
I guess they do justify in the sense that like Spock was put there because there was a planet in which he could see his planet dying from, and that would be the closest to where they were from.
On an entire planet, and they're just happening around the corner from Scotty as well.
And just after he's been attacked by a monster, he's like, "Oh, we'll just walk to this Star Trek base." He's like, "But you just got attacked by a monster when you were out in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to walk out there again to like go find a Star Trek base?" To me, originally I really enjoyed the Admiral stuff. I felt that the fact that you did get that twist was like quite refreshing. You were like, oh, okay, like so you go in with like Khan isn't actually the big villain, and when he starts to help them and stuff.
But then he's arbitrarily is. It's arbitrary by the end.
And so I felt when I first saw it, I thought it was a really like thrilling, really intense sort of film because I was like, oh my god, when's this going to end? And like it just comes to a halt at the end, which is kind of a good and bad thing. So then on reflection, on second watch, you're a bit like questionable about like why certain things happen. But and again, I sort of like enjoyed the Admiral and like his daughter stuff. But again, watching it for a second time, it was like, well, she is only there to serve the purpose of that role. She doesn't actually have any
really,
moments.
really bad role for her.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're calling this The Admiral and His Daughter, which is like going to be my new erotic novel that I'm releasing in January. Like, Carolyn Marcus is a scientist, is a brilliant sort of Starfleet officer, and she's reduced to like wearing a bra in this film. And, it's very lame.
Yeah.
It's very lame fan service, and we should have been beyond that in 2013 by a long shot.
Well, we had Star Trek Beyond, so maybe.
Yeah.
When you said earlier about the Randy episode of Star Trek, it reminded me of when Anton Yelchin is talking about Chekhov. He was like, "Oh, Chekhov's a really interesting character because a lot of the times in the series they're like on some mission and like he's just trying to get with his girlfriend and stuff. Like it showed like a clip from the original series where he's like trying to get on his girlfriend when they're on this alien planet.
Yeah,
it just reminded me of that. How funny that is. Yeah, no, I agree. I think with the character moments, they do sort of lose a lot. I think what Star Trek Into Darkness does have is. And the first film probably showcases this more so, but you can tell that the second one was more like, look what we can do in terms of technical stuff. So it was shot on IMAX. There's a lot of big scenery and stuff. They have that scene at the beginning, which again, completely like on IMAX is like, look at this big red planet we have, like, with all the natives and the volcano and
I like
a lot
that
of
bit.
The space scenes. Yeah, it was going back to the sort of like adventuring in space kind of.
Yeah, that was nice. It was nice to see them actually do their job.
Yeah.
As opposed to what theoretically is not their job.
No, exactly. But it was nice. It was that kind of like hero point of view of like, oh well, we want to help them. That kind of thing, even though we don't.
And
need
the classic Star Trek debate of the Prime Directive as well, but done in a movie style. Like it's a fun, runny, roundy, adventure way, but it's got this kind of core question of like, should you interfere and stuff? And so that's what these movies could potentially achieve. They could get these questions and tell them in a swashbucklery way.
Yeah.
But then the rest of the movie has zero to do. So they set up this whole idea and then they just have another thing and then everything is just a jumble and mess.
I did like as well how they sort of like focused a bit more on Earth, so I liked how to see like the
it is nice to see
Earth as well.
I don't get that.
Like
I want them to go into space.
Yeah,
I don't want them to go back to Earth.
Exactly what I was going to say. This is why I think that Beyond. I much prefer it to the other two.
Right.
Like I said, I loved Star Trek 2009 more than I love The Force Awakens, which I think is the same movie. It's a rehash.
Yeah.
But I thought Star Trek Beyond was the first one where they were like, right. Like they're doing their job. They've gone out to a place in space, and we're assuming every day. We're assuming that their general day to day is we're going to a new place. We're going to a new place. We're doing a bit of like research. We're doing spreadsheets and that, and then we're going to go to the next place. But they go to this place, and we only ever see it when it's dangerous.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what they did. And there was silly elements to it. Things which weren't necessarily brilliant, but I enjoyed it for being what it was supposed to have been.
Yeah, exactly. I think they achieved that, and again having like what's her name? She's sort of in Kingsman and everything. The mummy. She sort of like having that alien character again brought in that angle of like, oh, let's meet this new species. And I think the only thing that took me out of it was the fact that they had to have like a motorbike sequence. I was like, why would you have motorbikes in space? Like,
how was the motorbikes?
And that one, nothing really holds together thematically either, really.
Yeah.
Like, it opens with Kirk saying, "I'm bored of being in space now," which is, first of all, annoying.
Yeah.
Well, anyone would give the right arm to be in space, and he's like, "Oh, bloody space is rubbish."
And he also has, like...
And then, the plot's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So it's just the whole time you weren't thinking, like, why is Kirk bored? What's the plot? There's no there's no actual character stuff happening. So the movie's boring.
When I saw it in the cinema originally, I walked. It was one of those where I was like late into walking into it, and I missed like the first 5 minutes, but then realised on rewatching it, I didn't actually need to see that. Because it was like just this goofy thing with those little cartoon like miniature animals, and I was like, this is really silly. And the only thing that came from that is that he had the object that then he uses later in the film. I was like, that's really on the nose to be like, I've coincidentally got this object that's from the beginning
small
of the
world.
film.
Yeah, small world.
So literally playing a Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
But, but to
We
finish
call
off...
them Pavel's phases.
To finish off what I was saying about Into Darkness, like, or just the two films in general, what do you think kind of that technical aspect? Because that's, again, a lot of people were making fun before he did Force Awakens, like, all the lightsaber fight's going to be lens flared and, all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, people talk about lens flare. I mean, like, that's the least of our problems. I quite like lens flare, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks fine. I think the first one looks a bit better. I found every time there was any sort of in-space shot and you saw the Enterprise, I went, whoa, the Enterprise is awesome.
Yeah.
Some of the camera work wound me up because they... there's a literal technique that it's not exclusive to Abrams. Lots of directors use it, and frankly they shouldn't, which is just the idea of just like, it's a long away shot, not anymore, and just
when they do that,
just instant zoom in, and there's always something which is CGI'd, and it always takes me out of it. It's just the case of like, I'm looking at you now you have to...
This isn't that kind of shot, but it does remind me though of something that they do well, is the fact that when you see the Enterprise for the first time, you can't see it in full frame and everything like that. So I do appreciate when they do stuff like that to give it this grandeur.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine.
And I think something that sort of adds real, sort of appreciation to how well they did it is that one of the CGI artists I saw wrote down, he says, good CGI is to scale. He says if it isn't, it just isn't believable. So the Enterprise is built in a computer to the scale of what the Enterprise would be like. So it's not just like they've made like a miniature 3D model, because then it would look like a miniature.
That's interesting, because the scale is crazy in that film.
Yeah.
There's some weird scaling issues in the first film, because I think they changed the size. Like, there's a whole bit where they've made the Enterprise much bigger than it was.
Yeah.
And then they blow a hole in it like they always do, and then you can clearly see that it's supposed to be a lot smaller than it is. And then obviously there's the brewery problem as well.
And you see through the window as well. They like have shots where you see them on the bridge through the window, and they look like huge compared to the ship. And then it goes in, and they seem to be tiny compared to
that. That's strange.
There is a few things like that, but I at least appreciated that they said like they didn't make things in straight lines. They did it so that the panels were kind of like human made, in that they were so like not, because nothing can be made humanly, like, in a perfect straight line. So they did things like that to like make it look more believable. But I thought you were going to mention about shaky cam, actually, because that's something that Abrams does quite a lot. And I noticed it quite a lot in Into Darkness, because I watched the behind the scenes, and you literally see scenes of like him shooting, and he's just there with the cameraman's there, and Abrams is just there like going...
shaking,
like he's just literally like there shaking the camera, like when it's just perfectly still on something. And they were like, JJ's really good at the sort of like shaky cam stuff. And a lot of people had problems with it, with like something like Hunger Games, where like I can't see what's going on, and I'm the kind of person where like the lens flare, that's really cool, that's something new, it adds to the sort of sci-fi element. Shaky cam, I don't mind too much, again, because sometimes if I find I can't see what's going on, it might add to the tension of like, what's happening.
Yeah, for sure. Cloverfield effect, I think that's where it was best employed by him,
There are moments where I did notice it then after, though, was Into Darkness, when him and Admiral Pike are like speaking to each other, and he's like, they've taken the Enterprise off you, and it's literally like, and I'm like, did you really need to shake this up? Like, this is a conversation between two people, like, why are you shaking this? But
because half the time when they do that sort of like shaky, like that fast editing, it's when like they're doing just punchy fights.
Yeah.
And in those moments, there's nothing to see any of the way, because all those punchy bits, nothing's really happening. There's no characters doing anything. There's nothing to find out what's going to go on. They're just going to punch each other.
Yeah.
And so they're the bits I was just looking at my phone, so I didn't notice all those wobbly bits, because they're the boring ones.
I do really want to talk about, this isn't anything to do with the technical elements, but there is one aspect of Into Darkness I really did like. And it's an incredibly small aspect, but it's just something that, frankly, if JJ Abrams ever wants to make this film, of the 5 minutes of film that I actually did really like from Into Darkness, then go for it. It's basically the intro stuff with like with Noel Clarke's character and like the ill child and just being the motivation. I thought that was like really beautifully done in a way, because I think like with most of it, all you hear are the music, and
well, that's where it does link into the technical. So I did bring it up to sort of like, because I knew that was a good example. Because again, the way he shoots it and everything is really well done.
It's interesting actually, because and this is a sign of the times. And the important thing about Star Trek is that it is always reacting to the time that it's made.
Yeah,
like you've got the 80s Star Trek. It's like the end of the Cold War. You got the Vietnam War in the original. But obviously, we're looking at sort of post 9/11 Star Trek, and we see it in both of them, because the idea that nowhere's safe and you know, anywhere could be attacked. But yeah, it's strange because it kind of, again, it's one of those things where it's taken away from sort of 90s idea of Star Trek that this is a utopian civilization, and the people in it are more robust, therefore that they've obviously had therapy growing up, they've had better schooling, they're probably stronger than us, they're probably faster than us, because they've grown up in this utopian society. But one of the things that has changed about Star Trek 2009, and again, on the timeline of things, it's set in the past from those 1990 Star Trek, to make everything a bit complicated, is that it has chipped away at that veneer of a utopia, that it is always at risk and it could fall from within, which Admiral Robocop is the whole...
It is an interesting aspect to him, be like, you know, we're on the brink of war and, you know, the Klingons are coming, and it's taking that sort of like peaceful venturing into the galaxy to find new worlds to then, we're going to become a military force. So to them be like, no, you can't do that is a nice element, but again, maybe it would have been nice to be explored a bit more.
Well, I wonder if that Into Darkness, there is a real political element to it, and I wonder if that's where some interference came in, and they sort of, because the end of the movie, Captain Kirk has a wrap-up speech sort of thing when he's like, turns out the moral was that no matter who's attacking you, don't give in to fighting back. You know, be better than them, because if you'll get into dark places if you try to go all army.
And then freeze the guy who caused all this, because it might happen again.
But like, and that's kind of the action. The big action of it is when they send them off to Klingon to blow up Khan, and they send him to illegally cross the border, and they give him those torpedoes that are unmanned drones to blow him up without a trial and do it.
Technically, they are manned.
Well, they got men in them, But
that was stupid plot.
That's what they were saying, though. Like their justification of the storyline is like, oh well, fans will love this because they'll be like, oh, I know what the sort of 72 torpedoes mean and stuff like that. And it's like that didn't work. It's confusing.
No.
But yeah, it's a kind of, that stuff is a direct criticism of kind of the US policy. You know, they send unmanned drones and stuff, and the characters in Star Trek are like, no, this is the wrong thing to do. But actually in the movie, they never actually say that sending unmanned drones and killing Khan without a trial is wrong. Like the reason they don't kill him is because they need his blood to save Captain Kirk. So if that moment at the end had been when Spock is punchy, and Uhura had said, "Don't kill him," because then you'll be a murderer. Like that would be a compelling part of plot, sort of thing. Because that would be Spock having to make a decision about who he is, and the whole movie really is him having to decide who he is between as human, or all that sort of stuff. But instead, it's just don't kill him because we need him to. And so that whole moral element to that idea of how to go to war, is the US Army right in how it does wars and stuff, they actually completely cut it out the movie.
Well, it's also kind of like the Admiral says at one point. He says like, you'll need me. Like if you get kill me, then like you won't win this war. But it's like, well, either give him that role or like give it to Khan, because Khan has that kind of happening as well. They're like, oh well, he's a super soldier, and we need to use Khan to get back at the Admiral. And like Craig says, then you're sort of like flip-flop in between which one is the villain, and then for the end of the film to be like, oh, can we trust him, to then be like, oh no, we need to immediately kill him, and then like you said, immediately bring him back just to use his blood. It'd be like, no, you want to have this moral dilemma of whether you should kill him, because is he actually useful as an ally?
It's not about usefulness, it's about whether it's right or right. The point of Federation is that they don't have an army.
Exactly.
So that if they were to like bring him back to be a soldier, that would break.
But that's what I mean. If they had more of that political element of, there was a faction who were like, no, we believe we should go to war. They want
having a decision to make.
Yes.
They never have to make any decisions because everything is just just thrown at them.
Yeah. Well, what was your major things you wanted to say about The Force Awakens? Is it because of Abrams, you think?
Yeah, and this is 100% an Abrams thing, is that he's too cautious about these things. I think that, we saw, like, the difference between Rogue One and The Force Awakens. Like, Rogue One could be quite divisive a film, but one thing it did have is, I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourite Star Wars films. It put so much trust into you as a fan.
Yeah.
And if you look at an 80s film like Willow or Labyrinth, there's not any need to set these things up from the beginning. They drop you into the universe and off you go. And you understand that the man with the horns, he's got horns for a reason. Like, you don't need it all kind of like backpedaled. And I think with The Force Awakens, there wasn't any trust. They were after new fans, which is fine, but they could have done a completely brand new Star Wars movie, but like, no, he wants to kind of, maybe it was like trying to bridge the gap between the two, not get old fans going, hey everybody, look, these are X-Wings, you've all seen these before, look, this is the Death Star but bigger. That he has literally just gone, I want the new fans to feel like, well, I didn't have all these things in the past, and I don't think it works. Like, it's a fun action movie. It's a better film than Star Trek 2009.
Yeah.
If to pick of the two, if I had to push one into the sea and save one, I would save The Force Awakens. But the set pieces are outstanding, and he's really good at that.
Yeah.
And one thing he can't do, and it's the one thing that George Lucas really can do, is George Lucas can sit down and create a brand new world for every film, a brand new universe, and it works. And you can lift it out of its place and put it back, and you know exactly where it fits into its timeline. And like, it's a difficult skill, admittedly. But Abrams is more of a sort of a hands-on, down on the ground sort of director, explosions, team building, the good stuff, but. Yeah.
I agree. Like, as well, as a Star Wars fan, you have to appreciate that idea of, again, and for people who grew up with the prequels as well, is, as much as trash can be thrown at those films, a lot of the designs from those films are still, like, prevalent today. Because when you see Lucas working on those films, it's like one. I admire the craft of like Force Awakens and Last Jedi, in that they're like, we just give the puppeteers and everyone free reign to make whatever aliens they wanted, and you got all these different characters in the background. And I'm like, that's great, because there's loads of sci-fi films that don't do that. They just have CGI in the background. But George Lucas would go amongst the designs made by people and be like, that one, don't like that, that's not Star Wars, don't like that. And that's where I have a bit of problem with Force Awakens, is that I look at some of them and go, that looks cool, but is it Star Wars? And I think that's where the problem you said about is that you're like, oh, remember X-Wings, remember TIE Fighters?
A short point on that as well is there's a hell of a lot of new aliens in it.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is great because you can there are certain aliens that are very sort of predominant in the background of things. And it's nice to see them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, there's a whole bunch of new aliens who are going to be really excited by it. That's fine. Nobody is going to go, I don't understand what that alien is. Yeah. To a new fan, it's just an alien. To us, it's like, ooh, it's a Twi'lek or it's a calamari or whatever. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I miss is the use of like it's like Game of Thrones. Something. It's like it's a part of the world. You understand? Oh, that's like from there. So yes, we will go on to the movie vault. So this is just based on our conversation. If we believe that anything should be put into the movie vault, which is the vault owned by the film god, which we so have these discussions for to help him with his collection of movies that he keeps in his vault. So based on what we've talked of today, do you feel that there's anything that is sort of worthy of the movie vault? So
it has to be a good one. We have to put something good in the thing. And what are our choices?
Well, like I said, it could be anything that we've discussed today. It can be like Star Trek, maybe not Star Wars, because that would be going down a different rabbit hole, but unless it is JJ Abrams. So it'd be either JJ Abrams, Star Trek, Star Wars, or whether you feel there's any other Star Treks, maybe like Wrath of Khan, because it influenced so much of
Star Trek, The Undiscovered Country. It's the best of the Star Trek movies.
It is absolutely the best. Wrath of Khan is the space battle film, but Undiscovered Country is the purest Star Trekking that happens in the films.
It's an entire movie dedicated to like maintaining peace as well, which is the most Roddenberry thing
in a really fun way.
Yeah,
and there's an ice prison and all kinds of stuff going on, like a cloaking device.
I feel
evil
like that's the
general.
least talked about one, surely, isn't it? Because I can't.
Yeah, I
remember
have
this
no
title.
idea what
Yeah, I
this
can't
is.
remember this title. I remember the Journey Home.
That's a
That's
cracker.
good,
I
yeah.
That's the one
absolutely
with the
love
whales,
that.
is it?
Yeah, that's the whales one.
So I no knowledge of the Star Trek series. Watched that randomly on TV one day and was just like, why is Chekhov like wandering around this harbour? Or
The
whatever?
worst person to be in a nuclear facility with a
Yeah.
Russian accent in the 80s.
Yeah.
Go home. Right, your homework tonight is to go and watch The Undiscovered Country over this weekend.
Okay.
And if you don't, we'll come for you.
Okay.
Yeah, just want to check with you guys because there was a lot of people have this weird sort of like characterization of with the Star Trek films. If it's an odd number film, it's bad. If it's an even number film, it's good.
It's a thing. I don't agree with it.
Okay.
Has it sort of switched now? Because wasn't Star Trek 2009 an odd Star Trek film? And that was actually better and then than the one before. And then the next one was trash, and then the one after that I quite enjoyed.
Well,
but it
is odd.
As a rough rule of a thumb, for the original films, I think it was.
This is more for the originals, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because it means saying that Search for Spock is bad, but I quite like Search for Spock. I think that's a good film.
Yeah. And do you know what? I'm a big fan of The Final Frontier, which is like one of the biggest pieces of trash.
Yeah, it's the most shambolic.
But I think it's great. I think it's a really good film.
What about the original? That's just supposed to be a real slow burn, isn't it?
The thing with the 80s Star Trek movies is that they're all very different. It's not like they're carrying a franchise and carrying on the themes of the franchise. The first one was basically a 2001 rip-off.
Okay, yeah.
And it's very strange.
Which from the imagery, I can see
Yeah.
there's so many
But it takes
a lot, yeah.
It's kind of impressive more
Yeah.
than anything. It's like a really, really big tree. You wouldn't like necessarily want to sit and watch it for 2 hours, but you can be like, well, yeah, that's definitely a big tree.
Yeah, and then you've got this sort of your hornblower, which is the Wrath of Khan, your sort of naval battle one, and then you've got your weird sitcom in Star Trek 4.
Yeah.
So would you say of all of them then is The Undiscovered Country over Wrath of Khan, or is again because they're
I
different
would
films?
try and save them both if I could.
Yeah.
And is there anything from... It's interesting because if we were talking about Star Wars, obviously you said if you were to save one film from the sea, it would be Force Awakens over Star Trek. But to me, I don't know, I would be tempted to put in the 2009 because like we were talking about, it is so much fun, and I think they did a good job with the designs. You wouldn't want it there as a representation of Star Trek, but I do feel if you were going to have a movie vault, then the original Star Wars trilogy would be there anyway, so we wouldn't need the Force Awakens kind of thing. So
Yeah, I get you.
I would sort of make an argument for the 2009 one, but I don't know.
Depends how many we can have in there, really.
Usually you try to keep to about 3 or so, but
And we've already put in most of the original series movies.
Yes. Well, if you were to choose from the original series ones, like you said,
Let's go Undiscovered Country if we're going to pick one.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, given the fact that there are some consistently good elements about the films, mainly in terms of like the casting as well, like I think we can at least give credit to the first one for at least establishing that and establishing some element of character, even if it gets sort of forgotten.
And if in the movie vault in the future, if Avatar and Guardians of the Galaxy goes in there, you can see the RGB color trio of Zoe Saldana, who wears red, paints herself green, and then CGIs herself blue.
Yeah.
So she has red, green, and blue.
Yeah.
So you would have room to put multiples if you wanted, but if you were to keep it to 2...
I think Undiscovered Country and Wrath of Khan, I guess.
for
then,
sure.
isn't it?
Wrath of Khan,
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So cool. Going into the movie vault this week is Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, and Star Trek the 2009 reboot, which isn't actually its title. Awesome. Right, so we now go on to our end game, which this week we've been talking a lot about Star Trek. Craig, if you want to introduce us.
So, with this, obviously, the entire premise of this episode is necessarily deconstructing, or in our case, ripping to absolute pieces, the elements of like more modern Star Trek films. So we thought, given the fact we have two incredibly enthusiastic fans, that we would like to see how you would approach it. So this is an end game called Pitch Please.
Oh my.
So the idea of this is that we're going to give you a maximum of 2, maybe 3 minutes to basically give us a pitch for what you would like to see in like your own Star Trek film. You've taken over from JJ Abrams. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, should we just go straight into it? Like a flip of the coin?
Unless you want to go first.
Okay, so
Wait, I've got just a coin.
No, I got a coin.
Oh.
This is better.
Right, Pine or Quinto?
What's what?
Who knows?
I'm going heads.
It's tails.
Oh.
Matt, first or second?
Second, please.
Oh.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Right.
Begin.
Okay, my pitch. I was thinking you could either go for something completely new, scrap this cast and do something new, but I thought, I don't know, you can do whatever you want then, it's boring. And it might as well really do a TV show of that, like of actually just boldly going. Because none of the new TV shows, they actually just boldly go somewhere. They're always stuck and staring at their own feet. So I've taken the crew as they are, and I think just try to, that core idea of making a version of Star Trek that's genuinely swashbuckling and hopeful, and adding in the sense of discovery, which is a huge part of Star Trek, is the idea of discovering new things. And so I thought, well, let's just go down that route. Initially, I came up with a giant idea, and then second-guessed myself, because I thought, oh no, this is too silly and hopeful, and I thought, no. It's about being hopeful, so I'm going to double down on a ridiculous, massive idea. So I was looking at things in the universe that they built that would be interesting to explore. So I thought the discovery, the destruction and then discovery of a new Vulcan would be a really interesting thing to look in the world, and how the Vulcans are kind of like re-establishing themselves, what Spock's going to be doing and all that sort of stuff. So I thought focus it around that. I also thought about looking at what, in terms of the actors we have, what kind of resources to use. So, because of the cast, Zachary Quinto and Chris Pine, they seemed really interesting when they started, but their stars have kind of waned now. Like, if you were to put Chris Pine at the head of a movie, no one's really going to care. The most famous of those is Zoe Saldana now, so I think we make her the lead character. So I think we make Uhura save the universe, which I think for Star Trek fans, I would love that, because Uhura's awesome, and she's always been stuck in the background. Yeah. So we create a story in which we kind of separate Kirk and Spock from the rest of the crew, and Uhura uses her language skills and her understanding of other people to take a different perspective to the idea of, like, just not just blowing people up, understanding people, using your knowledge and saving the universe in a better way. So the idea to get that across is they've got new Vulcan and they discover something amazing on it. I've said a giant animal, something that's so big they don't even, it's like the size of a mountain. It's bigger than the Enterprise, and it's so valuable it's going to cause a war between everyone, and so they basically got to stop this war from happening. So the idea is really that I've called the giant creatures Mega Craigs because they've got to be called something. The idea is that the one big Mega Craig will sort of die, and so, but they'll have like a baby one, and so Kirk and Spock will have to kind of go off, and in their little adventure they'll be stuck with this kind of baby Mega Craig and like some evil Klingon. And they have to learn about, do they sort of chase after the Klingon and kill him, or do they have to nurture? So they learn about nurturing fatherhood. Oh, God. But so, yeah, it's about trying to stop a war. It's about hope. It's about discovering new amazing things in space. It's about, whoa, we're flying the Enterprise under the tail of a giant space whale. It's about having Zoe Saldana as the lead. And it's about being genuinely swashbucklery and saying, we're not going to have wars. We're going to do a better thing. And the end of it, they'll make peace with the Klingons.
All right, that's the 3 minutes. Thank you very much, Di.
Close your eyes, it's all over. Wow. One question, is Zoe Saldana then the captain? Does that...
Well, I thought she'd basically, you'd separate them apart, and so they'll end up coming back again by the end. But she'll be the lead sort of thing. So I think the idea of them, if they have to make peace, you know, she'd be sort of do the kind of key thing to like do whatever the conclusion is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so you can decide then whatever you want to do, whether to keep Kirk as captain.
Cool. Awesome. Matt, are you ready?
Yeah, I guess I am.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, begin.
Okay, so I too kind of wanted to go down the route of maybe freshening up the crew a little bit, on account of the fact that obviously some of them are just a little bit annoying, and some of them are sort of obviously not with us anymore. So what Star Trek did in the movie period, they got Kirstie Alley in to play characters, they got Kim Cattrall, they got a bunch of other people. So I'd get a couple of new actors in to fill a couple of empty chairs on the Enterprise. Freshen up the cast a little bit, make it pop. But what I kind of want to base it around is that the original series left us with a notion that there were many cowboy planets in the galaxy, and I feel that they were underexplored, and I want the cowboy planets to be addressed. So what's going to happen is they're going to go to a conference on like New Deadwood 4 to try and kind of figure out what the hell's going on. Why are there cowboy planets? Get all the representatives from the various cowboy planets together in one place, and then
I just really like it.
And have a symposium of cowboys, like a swap meet of cowboys. But it's cowboys, isn't it? You can't trust cowboys. So meanwhile, while all this is happening, a gold freighter is traveling with like 12,000 tons of gold pressed latinum in its hold, and while it's going to its destination of the planet Pelham 123, it's passing by the Cowboy Symposium on New Deadwood. So a group of unscrupulous cowboys use this opportunity to sneak onto the gold pressed latinum freighter and take it over. And then it becomes an elaborate heist movie whereby the Enterprise is having to chase down the gold freighter, and there's a couple of crew members that are somehow on board the ship, maybe an old character and a new character, a gruff old Colib and with like a sort of a feisty young doctor character, and they're trying to they're being kept alive because they're doctors on the gold freighter. They're having to pull space cowboy bullets out of people's legs, real frontier medicine. All the while, obviously, the Enterprise is following it, but they can't get too close. It's dangerous. There are civilians on the ship. It brings back into question that age-old thing with Star Trek, the quandary of the Kobayashi Maru test, which features in Star Trek 2009, and it actually plays it into reality, and it ends with all these aspects coming together, and the ships lining up, and there being a big fight between Federation guys and cowboy guys, and we'll get a bunch of really cool actors to play the cowboys as well. We could get Ian McShane on there. We could get I got 15 seconds left. We just get all the big famous people who are in cowboy films now. Get Christian Bale in there, maybe. We'll get Christopher Plummer back playing a grizzled old cowboy, riding off the success. We'll get Captain America. He can be a cowboy. We'll get him in there, and then it's a big cowboy.
And that's the 3 minutes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Great pictures from both of you. Both quite distinct and similar in the same ways.
Yeah, I like the fact that both of them play off of the elements of just, doing what we discussed that the new film should have been doing, just taking those elements from Star Trek and just building upon them in some form of cinematic scope. So I'm glad that both pictures does, fulfill that brief. So thank you.
It's a lot to, take to consider there. I think I like the idea of Zoe Saldana being the hero. I think that's really good because you do have that, the first film has the issue of her being the only female member on the crew and stuff, and like I said, the second Into Darkness then has the Admiral's daughter, as we called her, then come on and doesn't then do enough to sort of warrant having another main female character. So it then has that whole Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel sort of vibe, which is very popular at the moment. And I do like the idea of it being the sort of very vivid new planet. So that's the only concern I'd have maybe with the gold thing, is that maybe it'd be so much in space. It's kind of like what you had a bit with The Last Jedi. It's can we see some planets now kind of thing? But
there could be planets. There's a cowboy planet.
They can stop off at planet. The ship can stop off.
Yeah.
It can race past near planets, and they've got to get their space horses.
You're helping his argument.
Also, presumably,
I'm adding space horses.
Presumably, this symposium has to take place somewhere.
Yeah.
And presumably, there has to be a cowboy planet.
I want it to be like The Hateful Eight. I want it to be it's a snowy mountain where this is happening. It's not it's played slightly against type for a cowboy planet.
I think it's just because I just imagined it with because Dai had these fantastical creatures. I was imagining somewhere with giant pink, flowers and something that you'd be I've never seen this before. So rather than just a desert or the snow, so that's where I was a bit more intrigued by the visual aspect of that one. But I do like the idea of the Kobayashi Maru coming back. That is a nice link back to the 2009 film. So I don't know, Craig, have you got a concrete idea in your mind?
Yeah, so for me, as much as I do love the fact that you called one of your creatures after me, Dai, I'm just too intrigued by how many clashing personalities you can get with the Cowboy Federations.
Confederation. It's obviously going to be a confederacy.
Oh,
right?
Confederacy, sorry. Again, not slept.
No, that's fine. Star Trek has a federation, but the Cowboys have a confederation.
Yeah. But it's just the fact as well that, again, it's just going down to the element of real politics and having to make a lot of those decisions. I really like the sort of dilemmas we get from your film. And it's not to say that I don't like Di's pitch. I really like Di's pitch, but I think Matt's is a bit more unique. Not just in the sort of trolling sense of it's just loads of different types of cowboys fighting against each other, but just in the way in which those personal relationships like played out. So my vote goes to Matt.
Woo!
Matt's has got Ian McShane in it.
I know.
So if any movie with Lovejoy in it,
I know. I did laugh at that as well.
And a Kirstie Alley type as well, and a Kim Cattrall type.
But to be fair, all I thought with Ian McShane though was like Pirates of the Caribbean 4. I was just like, is this one of those paycheck gigs for McShane?
Everything's a paycheck gig for McShane, isn't it? You like Robbie Coltrane? We'll put him in there too.
Yeah. I don't know. I do think that it's keeping the idea of like the original films, but then adding that Zoe Saldana thing and like the new planet again, just to me, just sounded like it reinvigorated it more to me. So I'm tempted to go for Di. I think my vote goes to Di.
God, splitting the vote.
Yeah. So yeah, I suppose we will leave it to the audience in terms of which one they choose. We still will have an endgame prize today, so I've quickly brought up a few questions here if you wanted to answer these.
Sure.
This is apparently the toughest Star Trek film quiz in the known universe.
Oh, me.
Oh, God, I'm going to be really bad.
So, what was the name of Khan's ship?
The SS Botany Bay.
Correct. What is the name of the ritual Vulcans undergo to prove themselves purged of all emotion?
Ponfar.
So the options are Kolinar, Kun at Kal F.E., Kaswan, Kobayashi Maru. Kobayashi Maru.
I know which one it is now, but I've already guessed wrong.
Di.
I don't know which one.
So it's Kolinar, Kun at Kal F.E., Kaswan, Kobayashi Maru.
I don't know.
It's Kolinar.
Is it Kolinar?
Yeah.
Kolinar.
All right.
It's in the 2009 film, I think, as well. Where would one be most likely to find Lieutenant Commander Scott on a pub crawl? Edinburgh, Aberdeen, Glasgow, or Balmoral Castle?
Aberdeen?
Yes, it is, yeah.
That's a strange question.
Yeah. I was like, is it Glasgow? Because Simon Pegg said the Glasgow
Played
was
by a
like,
Canadian, though.
Yeah. What is the name of the frozen Klingon prison planet from Star Trek Then Discovered Country?
Oh.
Yeah.
I know there's a guy with his genitals in his knees.
Yeah.
Is it, so the options are Delta Vega, SETI Alpha 6, ICE 9, Rura Penthe.
Rura Penthe, yeah.
Because the first two
Of
things
course it is, yeah.
I love ICE 9.
Yeah.
So you've already
Good, funny
established
good
you use
reference.
Roman numerals. Why?
Yeah.
What brand of beer do Captain Kirk and Gillian drink at the pizza parlor in Star Trek The Voyage Home?
Is it Budweiser?
It is not. So the other options are Miller Lite, Coors Light, and Michelob.
I'm going to guess Michelob because I'd never heard of it, so I guess it's something from the 70s.
It's correct, yeah. So what's the score with the 5 questions?
So 3 to Matt, 1 to Di, 1
we'll leave it at 5, and Matt is the winner of that
Aye.
mini game. But we shall leave the end game pitch, please, to our audience to decide. We will give you a small prize, Matt, and you have won several end games before as well.
I have.
As it's Star Trek, it only seems right that you have a medal.
Oh, a medal.
What?
I never get a
Which
medal.
has winner on it.
I am a winner. At
And,
last. This is how I won. Let it be known. This is how I won.
And also, this is Star Trek, so it's about discovering, like, unknown species. You might know you look like Padme or something. Like one of your
Can't fit it
headsets.
over my headphones.
So yeah, Star Trek is known for its unknown species, but you might know this from your childhood. It is a mysterious alien egg.
What? Hang on, let me put my medal on. Right.
Wow. Do you remember these?
These are terrifying. This is going to grow into something, isn't it?
Apparently, if you put it in water, a baby comes out of its neck. That was the rumor back in the 90s,
Out of its
early
neck?
2000s.
What
Yeah.
the hell?
This is certainly the strangest thing I've ever been gifted. An egg.
Yeah, it was those Gungy aliens you had back
I
in
remember them.
the early 2000s. Apparently, if you put it in water, and it would give birth, which was complete
To be honest,
poppycock.
seeing this prize, I'm now glad I didn't win.
You might have woken up like, oh my god, it's terrorizing the
Yeah.
entire apartment.
Have you not seen these before, Di?
No.
No, they're horrifying.
So
It's a very disturbing universe.
thank you for joining us today, guys. It's been very fun. We had a great discussion of Star Trek and Star Wars. The Rise of Skywalker, this episode will be out on the day it is out worldwide. We should have our review of it up on the website, so go check that out. And there's loads of other interesting articles and reviews and all our other episodes as well, because this will be the last episode of 2019. So we look forward to seeing you in the new year, which will be very fun. It's been a lot of fun so far. Thank you for joining us, guys. Is there anything you guys want to plug, talk about? Matt, obviously you've still got We Make Things Fight.
Yeah, We Make Things Fight. You know, been on a little bit of a hiatus recently because we've had some illness issues going on, but we are coming back.
Fight illness.
We'll be recording. We've got to make sure that our contenders are well to be able to fight. So we're coming back next week. We're recording an episode on Wednesday. And I can reveal it will be a Christmas episode, and it's going to be a real big fight.
Oh dear.
Krampus.
Wink.
Yeah. Di, anything from yourself?
My upcoming film, Flight of the Mega Craigs, which would be a Star Trek spectacular. But no.
To be decided by the viewers at home. Yeah, so check out our social media. We're bound to be putting up the clip. Last time we did Pitch Please, we had just a clip on SoundCloud, which was just the pictures, so you can go listen to just that if you need a refresher. And hopefully... last time we were able to sort of sell it even on the polo, just 90s X-Men or Captain Britain reboot. This one is how to fit that in a poll question like that.
Yeah.
Uhura saves the day, or
no, you got
Cowboys.
You got Uhura and the Mega Craigs versus the Cowboy Confederation.
Cowboy, Space Cowboy Kobayashi heist.
Yeah, is this a 50s
and
sci-fi film?
Can we have like a multiverse where we bring in every version of Ian McShane in all of his characters?
Yeah.
So we have Ian McShane for Deadwood and Lovejoy.
And Lovejoy. It's important.
And Pirates of the Caribbean, where he has his mast like with the ropes.
Yeah. And Ian McShane in Game of Thrones. We'll get them all in there.
Yeah, in his 90.
Just not him hanging. That would be but maybe him in Jack and the Giant Slayer. So that'd be fun. Anything from yourself, Craig? Have you experienced fear? That is the challenge. That is the point of this test.
I mean, you're starting to freak me out now, to be honest, David. So.
I've experienced fear tonight.
No, so just a case of over the Christmas period, we'll be putting up a lot more reviews of various films, especially when it comes to, say, getting into Oscar season. So make sure that we'll be doing a lot of coverage of those types of films. So just make sure to keep a lookout for that. Hopefully over the Christmas period I get to work on my drunk review that I've been talking about wanting to do for a while.
How do you find being drunk?
It's interesting. But no, apart from that, it's just the usual jazz from us.
Cool. Yeah, well, like I said, guys, have a happy new year. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. Alternate, different take to what your usual Star Wars coverage will be. And we'll catch you in the new year with lots of fun topics and more interesting conversations on Well Good Movies. And catch us, like I said, as usual, on freshtakehub.com/wellgoodmovies. And you can catch us on Fresh Take Hub on all social medias as well. Thank you, Matt and Di, and we'll see you in the new year. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
For a split second, I thought I fucked up, but you were just like, no.